You know exactly what you should be doing right now. Creating content, making sales, or the next thing on that long to-do list that never seems to get done. But instead, you're glued to your phone, doom scrolling, consuming other people's lives, and numbing out with comfort while your dream life just sits there. You're not confused, you're not unmotivated, you are addicted to cheap dopamine. The good news is that addiction is reversible. You can literally rewire your brain so that reading, building your business, and doing deep work feels more satisfying than TikTok, Netflix, or romantasy novels. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to build a high leverage productivity protocol, aka a system that forces you to prioritize needle moving work over busy work. And it's going to protect you from burnout, but also make sure that almost every hour you're awake is compounding into either the business or the life that you want. And the first problem is actually stupidly simple to fix, and it's one almost everyone skips. You see, most people wobble when it comes to decision making. I'll make that decision later, I need to sleep on it. But what's happening is that you're actually half committed to your life, and even worse, your goals. When I leave things up to feeling, I don't feel like doing anything. I don't feel like working out. I don't feel like eating healthy, but I like the results that those things bring me. So a couple days ago, I had a really challenging decision to make in my business, and it actually boiled down to a team member. And I asked myself, okay, I could keep tolerating this and I can have another conversation and yada, yada, yada. And what actually it boiled down to, I realized that I was putting off a decision that I needed to make 3 months ago because I kept saying, oh, I'll do it later, or I don't have time. And it just so happened that the day that I got my period and the day that I was completely knocked on my ass, having the most intense pain of my life, was the day I had already decided that I was going to fire this person. So what did I do? I sucked it up and I followed the plan. Because the thing about being an entrepreneur, being a woman in business, is that did I feel like doing that day? No, definitely not. But I made the commitment that I was going to choose my future self now. So what I want you to do right now is take action. I want you to think about one hard decision that you've been putting off, and I want you to actually create the space to solve the problem. Do you see how I didn't say that I want you to solve the problem right now? I want you to create the space to actually think about it and dedicate time to solving the problem. So to put this into a more broad perspective, let's look at how this actually works in business. I run a 7-figure business, and I used to be just like you, thinking and watching all of this content on social media. I make $100,000 a month. I make $1 million a month. And I would just look at things extremely small scale, right? I would be like, how do I get to that next monthly income milestone? And even though that's great, what happens is when you hyper fixate on the month to month, you're not actually able to make good, grounded business decisions. So what I started doing instead was I actually started setting 3-year goals and then reverse engineering it. So on the day-to-day, even when things are happening, like I have to fire people quit, the system breaks, the things aren't working, I hold the mantra of firm goals, soft plans. But the problem that I had in the past, especially when I was scaling from 6 to 7 figures, was I was constantly on the day-to-day just asking myself, how do I feel? Or where do I want to get to this month? When you think short term, you're actually shooting yourself in the foot and not doing the things that you need to do to get to your goals in the long term. So even though things in the moment might feel painful, I want you to remember the saying, hard choices now give you an easy life later, and easy choices now give you a hard life later. So if you actually want to stop wasting your life, you want to stop feeling this addiction to the cheap dopamine, you have to set your 3-year North Star goal, because that's going to help you make decisions in alignment with the greater goal and not on what you're feeling on the day to day. So what we have to decide is, what is that bigger goal? And then make the decisions in the day-to-day through that frame, not just how do I feel today. So now let's look at what that actually looks like day-to-day in your business and one system you can install to make sure you're doing the things that grow your business and actually give you healthy dopamine hits. So the way that I want you to think about this is your deep work system. So I want you to spend the first 3 to 4 hours of your day actually looking under the hood. Now, trust me, the first couple months that you do this, it is extremely painful because you start to realize that your sales aren't where you want them to be, your team, your content, whatever it is, because you're actually looking at it head on. But then what starts to happen is your results start compounding, where you could be sitting down filming a YouTube video and see a high ticket sale come through that you didn't even have to do because your team did it, right? So even though it takes months to actually get this thing in place, you're going to get the more longer term reward for the systems that you build in the short term. So day to day, I spend the first couple hours of my day, yes, doing things to grow the business, but also looking at what is going on and going under the hood. Then on a weekly basis, you can do something like a review preview. So you review the past week and you preview the next 2 upcoming weeks. Now, this is really powerful because, for example, I have my operations manager pull me a report and do the review preview and say, are we on track to hit our monthly, yearly, 3-year goals? Or do we need to fix something next week? So when you actually have this shorter feedback loop, you can make better decisions. And then I promise you, you're no longer going to be doom scrolling because you're actually going to be in love with your business again. So one last important point here, before we jump into some of the non-negotiables you need in your daily life to actually build healthy habits, you have to understand the number one most important metric of your business. And once again, I'm not going to give you all this cheap dopamine, this productivity porn, and this fake shit that is not true and is not going to actually help you. What you need to look at every single day is your cash flow. I literally renamed my business to Creator to Cash Flow because there is nothing more important to a business than cash flow. If there's no cash flow, your business is fucked and it's gonna go under. The only number that matters is cash, cash, cash. Fuck your revenue. You need to focus on your cash because if you don't have cash, you can't make good decisions and you can't stay afloat. Now, aside from business, I have some routines in my daily life that are non-negotiable. So I'm not your average Pilates girly. I've taken a few Solid Core classes. I absolutely love Anne Mulham, the founder of Solid Core. I'm super inspired by her. But for me, it's actually about weight training. So I care about muscle growth. I care about longevity. I care about actually not just like how I look, but how long I'm gonna live my life and a long lifespan. And that always ties back to weight training. For me, it's just a few training sessions a week, 3 to 4 days a week. I actually built a gym inside my house. That is the ultimate cool girl's guide to actually being high leverage and focusing on real dopamine. Another thing that I do is I have a walking pad right next to my desk. So there is literally no excuses. I know last year I live in the Northeast, winters are cold, it gets below 0, and what we need to do is get our steps in. So for me, just having the walking pad next to my desk, there's literally no excuses. So this is all great, but the real dopamine and the real way you're gonna build healthy and sustainable habits is rest. This is something that I feel like I learned way too late. I think the spiritual community is like overdoes it on rest. And then I think the Boss Babe community underdoes it. So the way that I want you to think about rest is making it intentional. If you're gonna sit down to watch TV, don't also have your phone on. If you're gonna like actually sit and eat a nice meal, don't be doom scrolling on TikTok at the same time. You need to have well-intentioned rest and actually plan your rest days. I'm not just talking about training sessions. So for me, I pretty much have this like no Sunday work ritual. I don't plan any meetings and my day is completely free. And it's not to say that I'm not planning my day, but I'm planning a well-intentioned rest day. And this does not mean you're gonna be a failure if you slow down, because you have to slow down to speed up. One of my favorite analogies is that in race car driving, it's not actually the accelerator that wins the race. When race car drivers are trying to win, they actually have to put their foot on the brake to slow down to actually win the race. So the final point is one that seems extremely obvious, but a lot of people are not doing this, and it is staying organized. So the way that I see this, it's not just like having your papers in order on your desk, it's like genuinely living in a clean space. So I'm gonna tell you this quick story. When I was working my summer internship, I was working as a financial advisor in training. And one day, my boss asked me to drive him to this networking event that we were going to, and he's like, let's take your car. And the minute that he got in my car, he was shocked. He dropped his jaw and he was like, I cannot believe how impeccable you keep your car, and you had no idea I was going to ask you to drive me to this networking event today. And it really opened my eyes because he was basically saying the way you do one thing is the way that you do everything. So to wrap all this up, being productive all the time is not easy. But business is the best form of personal development because it will show you your flaws whether you want to see them or not. So what I want you to think about right now is, where were you last year? And are you on the same path to getting to where you want to be this year? Because I know for me, anytime I've stagnated in my business, it is purely because I was way too focused on the wrong things. And your results are going to tell you exactly where you need to change in your business. So if you're not where you want to be in life, in business, you have to look in the mirror and realize that's a you problem. And I say this to you because if you're watching this video, if you made it to the end of this video, it tells me that you're not actually being honest with yourself. Everything you have in your life is because of you. And if you're watching this, this is the truth serum that you need to hear today, because I'm not going to sugarcoat it because it sounds like you're already doing that for yourself. So if you want to learn the exact systems that not just built my life by design, but my business by design, you're going to want to watch this video next, and I'll see you there.